Hello and welcome to Take a Beat. My name is Tirza and I'm the digital pastor here at IES. And Take a Beat is an IES podcast where we invite you to take a little break, talk about stuff, only to launch ourselves back on the beat. So today we have Gigi and PD here with us, and I'm super excited. Hello.
Hello.
We're supposed to take a break?
Yes, you're
Can I have
taking
coffee?
Oh,
I
should
already
have
had coffee.
So I've actually wanted to do this particular podcast since maybe last year, because we were talking about, I think we kind of hinted talking about relationships, and the idea of dating, and I felt like it's appropriate also since we're talking about change and changing in terms of relational health. So might as well jump into this topic. But the big question is dating biblical?
Probably you need to define your terms, and especially dating and biblical.
So like the kind of, I think I'm like, why is it not a question for me? So
Take a beat. You want a beating?
no.
Asasa.
No. So the dating in terms of like the modern idea of um, getting to know someone, going on dates before getting married, just so boyfriend, girlfriend, that general idea, and biblical as in like where in the Bible is that?
Yeah, right next to riding in cars.
So I guess the idea is how to approach like dating and relationships biblically, like
I'll
according
ask
to
my wife.
God's way.
Okay. Like Dave said, dating per se, there's no scripture that you can say, oh, this is about dating. But I think if you talk about godly dating, um, which I think would be the biblical term for it, is that when you're dating, you need to set boundaries. So, so it's always good. You know, in Asia, dating is different from the West. When we talk about dating in the West, it's not particularly, say, exclusive. You can be dating several people at the same time. But in Asia, when you're dating, you're pretty much dating that one person. So let me speak from the Asian perspective and also the Western perspective. I think any kind of dating should have boundaries, especially if you're dating somebody, if you are a believer and you're dating somebody who is not. I think you always have to have, you want to know what the expectations are, what the other person expects from you when it comes to dating. How far do you go? Do you kiss on your first date? Things like that. Yeah, I know, right? In Korean drama, you don't even kiss until episode 13. So why would you kiss anyway?
When somebody
Until
says, I
episode
like you, I
13.
really like you.
Yeah, that's just a side comment. But I think it's always about boundaries and expectations. I'm all for dating. I'm all for dating. Dating in terms of meeting people, getting to know them, not particularly like exclusive right away. Um, and so I think those things are a good idea. Now, when you've dated a few times, like for instance, you've dated a person several times, then you can sort of say, okay, I'm going to just date this person exclusively. But I think to me, biblical dating means you have to articulate boundaries. I mean, let's talk, I mean, dating, of course, it includes holding hands, or I don't know. That was the dating too. But things like that. I think you need to articulate what your expectation is to the person you're dating and vice versa. And it's always good to have you to understand before you date what are the things you're really expecting. Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I would have to say is that from everything that I understand, that I am told, and everything that I read, the expectations in society have drastically changed over years. So when I was younger, 50 years ago, if you wanted to ask a girl out, you let her know where you're going. You had to pick her up. You needed to pay for everything. All of those kind of things. It was a planned event, and you were doing that to spend time with her. And the seriousness of the event showed that your intentions were good, and also that you were going to take care of her, and all those things. And like my wife said, dating also depends on culture, time, and place. And even in the Western culture, our context of international culture, I think it's very different now than what it was a long time ago, and that's good and bad. I think it's much more common as common maybe in many ways for a girl to ask a guy, let's go do something. Though some of our very close friends, I won't mention their names beyond Dawn and Amy, she famously asked him out. They ended up in the park playing tennis. She said, "Jay, you want to go have dinner?" or something like that. And that was like a long time ago, and I promise you that wasn't common in those days either. But because of all those things, it's really hard to say. If you want to talk about biblically, what you're really talking about is not whether it happened in the Bible. What you're really talking about is whether it's consistent with a biblical lifestyle in a modern era. We don't get on a camel to migrate from one place to another. Famously, we don't say, "Oh, our son needs a wife," so we send our right-hand man off to another country to find somebody at a certain well, this kind of stuff. But is there a biblical way that it's done? Certainly. At some point, there's an overwhelming expectation that men and women who are going to build a life together need to get to know each other. Yeah. And so, is that biblical? Actually, it's very biblical. It's very wise.
So, another question. So this actually the first time I heard about this, I was in college, and one of my friends was saying, "Oh, we're not like they were." To me, they were dating, but they're like, "Oh, we're not dating. We're courting." I was like, "Okay, what is that? So what's courting?"
Isn't that influenced by that book, I Kissed Dating Goodbye?
Maybe,
Yeah,
possibly.
that was a really popular book in the Christian community a number of years ago, and I thought it was I'll just be honest, I thought it was a really bad book. I thought it was unrealistic and stuff like that. I mean, when we talk about, my wife and I talk about courting, it's in a Filipino context, where it is really the guy who is wooing the girl, pursuing the girl, and everything else like that. And that was kind of borrowed in this whole idea, which again, like I said, I thought it was really a bad idea. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I courted my wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very
And
clear.
courting, that means you're trying to win somebody. And it's usually, it's the guy who's doing that. The guy who's, proving to the girl that his intentions are good. So courting is good. But unfortunately, the downside of that, the maybe not such a good side of courting, they only show you the good side of that person who's courting. It's not a bad thing, but because you're courting, you're trying to impress. That's the idea. Is your
Like a sales pitch.
Yeah.
yes, that's true. It's like marketing, right? Yeah,
Well,
you're
yeah.
trying to win that person to you, that you're trying to prove to her that, oh, I'm a good person that you can date and trust.
Well, two things that I think they're really important. What my wife said, I agree 100%. Number one, girls, you need to know this. The guy is never going to be better than he is right now. Like when he's trying to win you over, he's going to be nice. He's going to be friendly. He's going to be all the things. My wife can tell you it's true,
Yes,
right?
it's true.
And he's never going to be better. And so you need to understand that. And that's also kind of the nature of guys. And so he's wanting to impress you. He's wanting to win you. It's kind of that thing. And that's okay. That's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong
But
with
don't be thinking, oh, it's going to be like this all the time. And number
Oh
two,
no, but my husband is like that.
that means I wasn't very good in the beginning. And number two, and this is really important, and I see this in the Filipino context. the guys sometimes get addicted to the pursuit, and they're not really interested in the girl. They're interested in pursuing, and then later on, when they're in a relationship with a girl, or sadly enough, even sometimes when they're married, they enjoy the pursuit so much that they're chasing
Pursuing
around, pursuing other girls.
other girls.
And they like that, and that's really a bad consequence.
So like the
And
thrill
very
of the
dangerous.
chase.
Yeah, the thrill of the chase. It's the sin consequence of of something that's pretty decent, and the whole idea of courtship is decent, but guys get addicted to it. And girls, this is the best he'll ever be. I mean, honestly, it's not just about courtship. It's about dating. It's about, they're happy, and you're the object of their eye, and they're guys, and they're gonna like be thinking at other times about football, and they're going to be thinking, and I mean it, in a football sense or in a football sense, where they're going to be pursuing their job or whatever. And this is probably the most attention you'll ever get in your life from a guy. And
Unless you don't let them.
yeah. Well, that's a different.
No,
That's a
unless
different,
you're also interested in football, then
yeah,
it's
there you
good.
go. There you go. There you go. There you go. So anyway, yeah. And so yeah.
Are you interested in football?
I am.
Oh, well, one of
American
the
football.
yeah, one of the things I really like is that I have so many friends who, the wife or the girlfriend makes fun of them. Oh, they just like sports. Da, 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 da. My wife likes sports, and we watch sports together, and she's more enthusiastic about it. And
Especially
I think
tennis?
that's great. Well, I didn't
Oh,
really
and
care that
everything.
much about tennis, but my wife did, so I learned about tennis because it was something we could watch together. Of course, now that what's his name, Roger Federer is out, and
I'm sad.
yeah,
Yeah.
we don't pay as much attention to tennis as we used to.
So there's a question actually that we'll tackle the Q&A later, but there's one question. So it's the question of how did you two meet and get together?
Ah,
But
that's a
an
good question.
additional thing to this question is, it seems like we hear PD's side of the relationship. But Gigi, how did you fall in love
Is that
with
from my
PD?
daughter?
And what about PD do you love? No, it's actually from somebody in this room.
Oh, okay.
Not me.
Titus.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Pick on Titus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay.
that's a multiple question. I'm
Okay.
curious to hear this.
All right. Yeah, because I was the one who was pursued, right? So of course it's always Dave's version that you hear. Oh no, when I met Dave, I just it's believe it or not, it's like I had this
I was
feeling.
there. I remember.
I had this feeling like, oh, this is a man I can trust. That was my first impression of Dave. That's because I come from a very, very different kind of life before I became a Christian. And when I met him, I was just show business, like show business. Show. Anyway, but so I was a new believer when I met Dave. I was only a Christian a year, I think. So when I met Dave, I didn't really understand. I wasn't sure about pastors, and I didn't really know anything about missionary. Those were all new to me.
She knew that I wasn't a priest. And that's
They were all new to me. So, but that was my first impression of Dave. Just a man of, just a good man, a decent man. Because from where I come from, I didn't meet a lot of very decent.
Where did you meet?
We met at church.
we met at church.
Yeah.
No, because these days, like the young people, I'm saying this like but they emphasize this thing called meet cute. So it's like the cute, like kind of scene on how
Yeah.
people meet.
Yeah.
But so that's like the question, like how did you?
So in the Philippines, we were having a revival meeting.
They want to hear my version. They
sorry.
heard your version.
Sorry.
Right? Okay. So we were
We can have both versions.
we were having a revival meeting, and the church, it was my first time to come to that church. My mom and I were the only believers at that time. So we were sort of like church shopping for the rest of the family to know Jesus. And So we came across Sister Virgie, who was the pastor of the church. And I came and they, recognized me. And it so happened that that night, that evening, they were going to have like a kakaer. And so she asked me to stick around because I was still, being in show business, I was still, like quite famous. And then I think Sister Virgie asked Dave to come and meet me. And that's when I first met Dave. Yeah.
What was your?
Can I tell my version?
Yes.
Yeah.
yes.
So,
That was
so
my
a guy
next question.
named Bernard Johnson was coming to Manila. We were going to do a kaka air at the baseball stadium down in Rizal. It was really good, really successful. And this was a prayer meeting before that. And so it was in the church where I worked with Sister Virgie's congregation. But there were a whole bunch of churches. Sister Virgie was going to do the opening prayer, and she was late, and which was not unusual. And so we were just sitting and waiting and visiting and everything else. And then I saw this one lady walk by, this one woman walk by with a little girl. And I looked at her and I thought, wow. And then I saw the look, and I said in my mind, I remember exactly, it's too bad she's married. It's exactly what I said. And I was there with my friends and we're talking and everything. And she got up and sang and they introduced her. Sister Virgie did the opening prayer. Somebody preached. We did all this stuff.
And just to make sure, I was not married.
Yeah, she wasn't married. And
Dave
and
was my
I didn't
Dave is
know
my
that
first
yet.
husband.
Yeah, I didn't know that yet, but
my
it
current
was,
husband.
yeah, it was her niece.
Okay.
And so it was her niece that was with her. And at that time she was living in Malaysia. So when they were home, anyway, so afterwards I was downstairs talking to some of my friends from some of the other churches, and the secretary of Sister Virgie came down, personal assistant came down and said, Pastor Dave, Sister Virgie wants you to come upstairs to the office and meet Gigi and her mother, and da-da-da. And I said, well, you can tell her that I'll be up in about 10 minutes. I'm still talking to these people. She went back up. She came back down and said, Sister Virgie said, come now. So I said, okay. I was working with her. She was the boss. She was the senior pastor. And so I did what she wanted. I left and went right upstairs. And by the way, that was Dr. Alex Fuentes that I was talking to, who is the general secretary of the AG in the Philippines. So I went upstairs, and then there was Gigi and her mom. And I found out that it was a niece, and we talked. And she was living in Malaysia, and I had lived in Malaysia. We knew a lot of people in common. And so, I thought to myself, oh, wow. And that was totally gobsmacked. I was gone. I was gone.
So what was the courtship like, or the pursuit like?
So my parents were very, very strict because I was in show business. So they felt like I needed more protection. So even though we were Christians, and later when Dave started courting me, the rest of the family had already started going to that church. So Dave was our pastor, and but so Dave wanted to come and court me, and so my Papa told him, okay, Dave, because you're the pastor, I'll allow you to come. Is it 3 times a week? Twice a week. From he cannot come before 2 and couldn't stay later than 5. So 2 to 5, like hospital visitation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so but my dad.
Visitation hours.
So my dad, it's like he made sure Dave knew that it was, he was being very nice to him, generous because he's the pastor. If he wasn't, then he wouldn't be allowed to come at all.
We sat in the living room, played Scrabble, played Boggle, played games.
Played a lot of
and
games.
Either her grandmother or her niece or somebody would walk in and out of the living room every 10 minutes. Sometimes it was raining and people would leave me out in the rain.
I think the
While they
whole
would,
time,
Yeah.
the whole time Dave and I courted or dated, we only went out twice for lunch and twice for dinner.
Yeah.
So the one for lunch, he had to tell my dad ahead of time where he was taking me, and he could pick me up at noon, and I had to be back by 2.
But when she had to be back by 2, I brought her back by 1:30 because you don't want to look like you're trying to push boundaries. And the evening was Valentine's Day and my birthday. And both times we were with 2 other couples.
Yeah. So it was always a group.
Yeah.
So
And that's been 3.5 years.
Yeah. But
Including when we were already engaged. We were engaged for 1.5 years.
Yeah, my parents were, that's not the norm. That wasn't the norm. My parents were just extremely protective.
You want to know about the time I got left out in the rain?
Okay,
Yes.
never mind.
So I pulled up at the house and it was raining, and I went and knocked on the gate, and where the gate was, the rain would come down. one of the members of the family came out and saw me and looked at me and said, "Oh, I need to get an umbrella,"
You want
because it
to
was
you
a,
want to tell them who the member?
no, I don't, because
Because Shelly might be watching.
yeah, she might be watching, so I don't want to say that. And she went back inside the house and got an umbrella to go and open the gate so I could walk in, and I stood in the rain while she went down. But that, I also understood enough to know that that's part of the whole thing. And the
Yeah.
Philippine side of it, I'm trying to prove to the family that I'm serious.
Yeah.
And
It's-
so I
it's-
understood
yeah.
that. She was just releasing the mean and unkind. Sorry, Chelly. No, I mean, it was okay.
No, my parents were, like in the Philippines, it's obviously, like I said, even back then it was excessively protection. But you needed to show the person who's courting that your daughter is not, it's like she's precious. So you sort of like, you have to make it hard to prove to the person who's courting that she is of value, that and that's why they make it hard like that. But like I said, that's a little too much.
So, side question: like all of the word games and Boggle and Scrabble, who won?
Oh, so Boggle is a game that, I'm not really good with words and stuff, but I understand processes. And my family played word games. Scrabble, Boggle, and puzzles was, we didn't play other kinds of games. And so when she says, "Well, let's play Boggle," I'm like, "Oh boy." So she gets the Boggle out, and then she says to me when they have the little Boggle thing, and then she says, "Now here at this house, we don't allow 3 and 4 letter words." And I thought to myself, I don't know any words that are longer than 3 and 4 letters.
No, I think we
Spelling
did
is
with
my real
4-letter
weakness.
words.
And we played Boggle for 3 years, like a couple times a week. We played Boggle, and I never beat her in all those years. The only time I won was when her siblings were also playing, because they all think the same way. They make words the same way, and so
they
they would
cancel each
they
other
would
out.
yeah
Yeah.
cancel each other out. And my mind just doesn't work that way. Words to me are a shape, and that shape is a word. And it's not made of my
I don't
wife
think you
is a different
actually
way.
won. You just
No,
didn't,
I had
you,
more points
You just
than you
didn't
had.
beat me. Yeah, but I don't think you won.
When it was the two of us, she never. And the same thing with Scrabble. She's like, man.
So, do you two still play games now?
Not as much.
Not as
'Cause
much.
we don't
yeah.
really have that
Well,
much.
somebody discovered Korean TV. And I won't say who it was, but when I talk to people in Korea, I don't look at their feet to see if they have a footnote down there. So, no, we
Subtitles.
yeah, when we do stuff together, we've gone through a season where we played chess, because we watched a movie called Searching for Bobby Fischer. It was a great movie. We watched that movie. We played a lot of chess for a few years.
I don't think I ever won chess.
Oh, you always won because you take your move back and go to a different one. And so,
Okay, take it back.
yeah, we played word
I don't
games.
remember that.
Yeah, I do. And then
There's a lot of things he forgot, just not
we
that.
do a lot of
You're
shopping
not supposed
together.
to like keep
Yeah.
a record of wrongs.
No, it's not a wrong. I mean, it was fun playing chess, and we do a lot of shopping together. And when we shop together, I go with her, and then I try and find a place to sit and read or something while she shops. When we were first married, we did that a lot.
Yeah, but when Isabel was born, then
Yeah, then
Isabel.
she got a shopping partner. So that's why I prayed for a girl.
So you stayed at the E-Bar in Nordstrom.
Yeah, that's right. That's my spot, Bellevue Square, the E Bar, right in front of the Nordstrom's. That's where I am, and I'm also good at collecting bags. So she goes and shopping bag here, and it works out great. It's about time spent together, and to be honest, I don't play games with my wife also because we're both really competitive. And so when it's the two of us, it works out okay. But when we're playing with other people, I never play because I always want to win. And if I'm playing with my wife, I don't want to win.
Yeah.
And so it's
But
different.
it's not like you're letting me win.
Oh, no, not at all, not at
make
all.
that
She's
clear.
much better at games than I am. Much better at games.
Yeah, that's why we skip Gigi.
Yeah, that's right. So,
That's
yeah.
Isabel's rule. So, one question before we wrap up this segment. How did you know or what made you what convinced you that, oh, this is someone I want to spend the rest of my life with?
It's really easy for me to say. I've known people all my life, and this is somebody that I met that I just couldn't stand to not be with her, and so that was really easy for me. All my life, I had a long description of everything that had to fit together and everything, all fitting my perfectly planned
list.
life. Oh yeah, yeah. And when I met her, I didn't care about any of those things, and that was enough for me. Yeah. So yeah, it's still that way. She, when she walks, there's a like the rhythm of the way she walks. When I'm in the mall waiting for her and I hear the footsteps behind me, I can hear when she starts coming, and I start smiling. And even if I mean, we're far from perfect. I'm closer to perfect than she is, but I'm just kidding. And so sometimes there's misunderstandings and everything else, but I'm still smiling. I'm still happy. Yeah.
I'm not smiling.
Yeah. We don't have the same experience. We're not the same person. I don't expect her to feel the same way I feel. I want her to feel the way she feels.
How did you know?
Oh, okay. How did I know? I think I really don't. I'm supposed to know. I'm still figuring out. Okay. I think I, like I said, maybe this was the Lord. When I first met Dave, I just had this feeling that if I'm going to commit to somebody forever, that Dave would be it. I didn't tell him that. And I think, did you know that? Okay.
Oh, we
Until she
didn't,
said,
we
"I
didn't
do."
start talking about that kind of stuff for a long time.
But like same with Dave, being in show business, I had, you know, uh, I wasn't sure who was really courting me for, who was genuine. But it just always felt like Dave was very genuine, and I've always had that feeling of, um, for lack of a better term, was a godly kind of relation. It's a kind of relationship that I felt, oh, this is the kind of relationship God has prepared for me that I would want. So
So, how long have you been married?
I asked her one time, so we're already talking about, getting married and everything else. So I said to her, well, how many times has somebody asked you to marry? How many of your boyfriends asked you to marry him? She said, all of them. I was like, really?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought that was a normal thing.
Well, it's kind of a part of the courting, I guess. So,
And how long have you been married?
35.
yeah.
Dave, how long?
35 and a half. Do you know what day we met?
What day? It
Yeah.
was a Saturday, right?
Yeah, no, it was a Sunday, September 27th.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure what year, but
Well, we're going to wrap up this segment and then we'll go into the next segment. So tune in and just stay on the beat because we're going to return next time with PD and Gigi and talk about relationship questions.
just looking from the people who are here, there's going to be some really interesting questions. They're getting ready to pretend like they're not adding them on, but they are.
All right.
Yeah, see, they're pretending, but yeah.
Especially you and